Right, welcome everybody to this special media afternoon with Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's a great, big, spectacular Broadway musical with all the bells on and everything that you would expect. Just to put you into the picture as to how the production actually came about, the physical production. Initially, a team comes out from different parts of the world, in fact, assembled by Disney Theatricals in New York, and they come out and teach us the show. It's an entirely South African cast. It's an entirely, in that sense, South African production. It, of course, is presented by Peter Turin and Hazel Feldman, and I want to urge and stress at this point that this is probably one of the biggest and most spectacular musicals that Cape Town has ever seen. And as long as the audiences come, that will give the encouragement to do further productions of this nature. It cost a great deal of money. The entire set, all the costumes, the props, everything that you see has been shipped out from the United States. The production, as you see it, is what you would have seen if you had attended the production on Broadway. The international creatives who came out, as I say, taught the show to us, to our technical crew, because there's a lot of technicality involved in the show, and of course to Jill Summers, who's the resident choreographer, and I take the role of resident director. There are 34 people in the cast. There are some 60 people working backstage every night, just to give you a little indication of just how big the show is. We're going to present two numbers from the show for you. Just before we go into the actual numbers themselves, I'd just like to give you a little bit of background. Beauty and the Beast, the actual story, is perhaps one of the newer fairy tales. It can be dated back to the late 18th century. It appears in various forms, but it is originally French, La Belle et la Bête, and it has been filmed before, the most famous version being the Jean Cocteau film version, done immediately after the Second World War, with Jean Marais, the famous French actor, as the Beast, and Arletty performing the role of the Beauty, Belle. Disney filmed the animated version and released it in 1991. It was already a musical version with a score by Alan Menken and the lyricist Howard Ashman, who sadly died shortly after the movie was completed. It was around that time when the film was released that Frank Rich, the famous butcher of Broadway, said that the movie was the best musical on Broadway that year and contained the best musical score. The film is very much shorter than the actual show, because initially it was designed very much for a family audience and has very much fewer songs. Additional songs were added for the Broadway production, with Alan Menken providing the music, and it was Sir Tim Rice of Webber and Rice fame who stepped in to provide the lyrics for the additional songs. The story, of course, the famous story does deal with a spoiled prince who is bewitched into becoming a beast because he spurns an enchantress quite cruelly, and he is set the task that he has to find somebody to love him, and he can love them in return, and only then will the spell be reversed and he will revert back to being a human being. And we have, in this particular version, our Beauty, called Belle, the French for Beauty, lives in a small provincial town somewhere in France. She's bookish in that she loves reading. She's not particularly concerned with some of the other people in the town. There's one person who has his eye on her, that's Gaston, who runs the local tavern. and he's the ultimate he-man. He reckons that he's the most gorgeous thing in town and he deserves the most gorgeous girl, and he sets out to woo her. She's not having any of it. For various reasons, Belle ends up in the Beast's castle and swaps places with her father, who has been held prisoner there. I'm not going to give you all those details. And she is held prisoner in the castle. At the same time that the Beast was transformed into what he is, all the people working for him in the castle, everybody who was in the vicinity, were also transformed. It was a far-reaching spell. And so you had things like the Major Domo being turned into a clock. His name is Cogsworth, because he's very punctilious. You also have Lumiere, who is turned into a candelabra. Mrs. Potts, who used to run the kitchen, is turned into a teapot, and so on. Lots and lots of objects. These people are half human, half objects. You're going to see some of them. Belle's first night in the castle, she refuses to have dinner with the Beast, and he storms off in a huff, leaving her. Eventually, Mrs. Potts takes pity on her, as does Lumiere, and they decide that she does deserve dinner. She is, after all, a little hungry, and they present to her dinner in the castle style, with all the objects, everything from the plates through to the cutlery, being animated, being half human, half object. And that's the first number we're going to show you. It's one of the highlights. It was in the original animated movie, but it is certainly one of the highlights of this production. It's called Be Our Guest, and I think we're ready, we're good to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dining Castle Style, Be Our Guest.